I promised somebody I'd record this and then forgot.
That he already had everything he needed.
Yeah, he already had everything he needed, right? And so we talk about this it being clear on what is your enough. And I think burnout sometimes happens because we lack a clarity around what is enough. Now, there was something that he might be a little short-sighted on. What might he be short-sighted on? What could happen?
He could get sick and then his family would have nothing.
That's right. I mean, there's hurricanes. For those that live on the coast, we know that. The fish could be displaced, his boat could be ruined. And so we do have to have a plan for wealth for when nothing is coming in, right? But he was very clear on how he wanted to spend his time and who he wanted to spend his time with and what his ideal day looked like, right? And so clarity ignites something in all of you. And so part of today is how do you get clear on what it is that you want? And do you have that dialed in yet? Are you clear on that? So, as I built out this PowerPoint, I did it with some research from conversations that I've had with agents, my experience as a team leader, and then the podcast I listened to. And I also pulled in some Brene Brown research. And so you're going to see some of that. And this isn't long, so don't worry. But this is the hustler's paradox. You know, we think that we have to start in our business as a real estate agent. We got to get it built. And we build that foundation and then we go to grow it. And then we got to figure out how to scale it. Then we get to retire. Then we get to relax. And if any of you have ever heard from Adam Hergenrother, one of the things that I learned really early on from Adam when I would have him come in and teach is that you can live in all of the three boxes at the same time every single day. So, how we design your life is what matters. And so, um, the only real plan is for you to build a plan. And so, real estate is one of the few careers that can provide you immense freedom and financial opportunities, but only if we design it. So, why wait to relax now? Why not have it all? What's stopping us from having it all, right? And so we want to get clear on what that looks like. So this is what we see for real estate burnout. A person comes into the business, they're super excited, they've flipped on hustle mode, their production increases, usually then so does expenses. They see a lifestyle creep start to happen, and then pressure builds, right? And so after the pressure builds, we start to lose time because we're working more in the business. And then then that's where the burnout begins to happen because we're not building in the time. There are a lot of successful agents on this Zoom right now, and this is a question for all of you. Can you remember when you had your best production year and it wasn't really a great quality of life?
Mhm.
Yeah. And then you might have had a great year where you did have both. And so what changed? And for me, if I had to guess, the answer was intentionality. And if you know Gary Keller, Gary, we all have to wait every year to find out when family reunion is and to find out when mega camp is. And does anybody know why? Because we're at the mercy of Gary's calendar. So him and Mary get together and they plan all of their vacations and they plan all of their events. And then he bakes in the big events for KWRI because he plans for vacations and family first, and then for education, and then for business. And so if we were to wake up and operate in that same way, we can have both. We can have a really big business and a really big life. Don't like this PowerPoint. So this is some of the research that I got from Brene Brown, and it was the structural cracks of burnout. And it happens in three ways. One is emotional exhaustion. The other one is cynicism or detachment. And the third is we're feeling ineffective. So we just burn out because we're not seeing the fruits of our labor. And so burnout isn't just about a workload. Burnout really happens when we never close the stress loop. And in our industry, that is very common. And I'll explain a little bit more about what I mean by that. But can you think of a time when you were exhausted emotionally and physically, or you felt a little bit detached, or maybe a little apathetic? And it was hard to be empathetic when you're apathetic because I've been there. Or we have felt ineffective. And so we just sort of resign to the idea of I can't get anything done. So nothing's working. So I'm just going to do nothing. And that's that cracks that start to happen inside of our business. So what the unclosed loop, we all live on a fight or flight because that's the way we were hardwired from our DNA. And the fight or flight is we have a threat, which in our business is inspections, emotional clients, deals falling apart, economy, interest rates. What are some other threats that you guys know exist in our business? Negotiation battles, multiple offers, um, you know,
Other agents.
yeah, other agents, weak agents on the other side, right? So that brings the level of stress up. And what happens is we move from deal to deal and problem to problem, and we never close the loop. So usually, if you're a productive enough agent, your pipeline should be ready to move into the another deal. And we're in this maintenance mode. We're maintaining deals and servicing clients, but what are we forgetting to maintenance?
Ourselves.
Ourselves, right? So when we talk about closing the loop, this is what closing the loop looks like. So if you could start to build in a with intentionality in between the deals, completing the stress cycle. So you have a tough call or you have a tough negotiation, instead of going to the next fire, what if you stepped outside? And my agents will see me lapping the building and I will like be on the phone and making calls, but changing my environment and just leaving the bunker sometimes does that for me. So walking, breathing, but then have a reset and return to work, right? Instead of just going right to the next thing. If you follow Jason Abrams, you might know what Jason is doing is a part of his calendar. Every 50 minutes, he has a 10-minute reset. And so when we all went to school, there was a school bell. And when the
Mhm.
school bell rang, we knew exactly where to go next, which today is our Google Calendar. We get a 10-minute alert and it tells us here's where you're going next. What if you built in a reset and you took a walk, you took a breath, you took a beat so that you could close the loop? Because it gets hard, guys. And we had to have some release valves built in, right? So if you could build that reset ritual. For Jason, he's reading. He's just reading for 10 minutes because the brain is constantly firing off all of these neurons and we're not breaking up those patterns. So, exercising, walking, laughter, talking with the peer, deep breathing, a connection with family. I think this is why so many of us go into social media, like we get lost in the scroll. But the danger of that is we burn more than 10 minutes and then we don't get back. There's nothing wrong with the scroll, but what if instead you planned for the scroll and it was more intentional, right? And you were doing more outreach or connecting with someone or commenting, right? And engaging with intention. What are other ways that you could reset?
Breathing exercises.
Absolutely. Yep. Breathing exercises. Does anybody remember when Diana used to do this in between our fingers? And we
Oh,
go,
yeah.
remember that? And we would
Yeah.
go
Yes.
in between each finger and like what that did to like our heart rate and how we bring things down for us, right? Does anybody remember doing that? We
Mhm.
did it
Yep.
at Recharge Barb, and then we would do it at Coach's Skills Camp too, which was always really good because we know, guys, that what we do is stressful. But could we all agree that nothing is code blue?
Yes.
I remember my first year at Keller Williams, and they were doing the shift tour, and Matt Fettick was on the panel, and Matt spoke about how he was a paramedic and before going into real estate, and that we have a hallucination that everything is an emergency. And he goes, no, the only emergency requires 911, and it's code blue. And that's it. And he goes, otherwise, we have to quit telling our brain that this is the emergency because the brain wants to prove us right. And so we have to control the way that we're constantly reacting. Any other ways to release the valve? I mean, that you could be doing throughout your day.
I think if you could give yourself something to look forward to, right? I mean, be
Yep.
intentional. If it's reading for Jason, but what's that thing that again, I love our culture and our building. I'll walk the hall, I'll walk the loop, I'll talk to really good people. It's engaging.
Yeah. Mo used to say 7 hugs a day keeps us from being weird. And, just going out and high-fiving or having a hug or, that interaction lowers that blood pressure, right? So that those interpersonal relationships, like you're saying, Jeff, matter. And I think it's a little bit, post-COVID, I think the burnout went up so high because of isolation. And so for people who are working from home every single day, what if you mixed up your calendar and you moved the places in which you were working? So maybe you don't have an office near your house, but it could be a coffee shop or a co-works environment or inside of a attorney's office. But where could you go take claim and just have some peer-to-peer interaction, right? I think it would make a huge difference. The enough threshold. So we talked about the fisherman, and what he had is he had clarity. And your life should determine your business model, guys, not the other way around. When if you get into a marriage, we have an expectation about the relationship. With our friendships, we have an expectation, right? It can't be all give and no return. It's a give and take, right? Would everybody agree with that? That should be your business. You should be designing a business relationship. What do you want out of your business? How how is your business funding that perfect life? A lot of agents for years have been chasing what we call the recognition model. I'm going for more volume, more GCI, more units, more, but they never defined what enough was. Part of what Jordan Freed teaches us is that if you could live off half of your income, the first X, and invest the second X into your wealth plan could kick off what you're going to need to live after real estate. So to me, that's the business prototype. Most mega agents when asked say that they can live off of 250,000 a year. That's the number. We know brand new agents get in the business and it's the 100,000 mark, the 100,000 mark. Mega agents come in and say, I could live, my quality of life would not go backwards if I could have 250,000 a year coming in. I would not have to make sacrifices on my lifestyle or my cost of living off of 250. So what if you built a business that yielded you 500,000 in GCI, you lived off the first 250 and you invested the other 250 and your business set you free? That could be 5 years, that could be 10 years. I don't know. I don't know how fast you want to do it. I don't know where you are right now, but that's the relationship you want to get into with the business, not the endless chase. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
To arrive at that, though, you have to decide what does it cost you to live? What's the lifestyle you want to sustain after you put your last sign in the yard? What's time and freedom mean to you? What vacations do you want to take? What hobbies do you want to have? What's the cost
Go to
of
the front.
maintaining your health going to be? And when you get clear on that, that's your first X number. Then when you 2X it, you now know that that's your unit goal. How do I need to get to this many units in order to live off half and invest the difference? Who has questions around that or feedback around that? Does this make sense? So some of us, we get into scarcity because we don't have a plan for the future. And then others of us, we're in this chase because we don't know where the finish line is. And when you get clear off of what your net worth goal needs to be, now your business prototype funds it. And then that's the business you build. I know a guy who every year is completely content with 65 units a year because he's living off the first X, and investing the second, and he's doing that until his net worth gets to 6.2 million. Once it hits 6.2 million at 4%, it'll yield him 250,000 a year. Now we know real estate does better than 4% in investments, right? But the stock market, your 401ks, all of that, if that's the rule of four. So 6.2 million is the rule of four, 250,000 a year kicks off of that. Would that be a great life?
Mhm.
To just know that you could build a business, wake up every year and hit repeat until you hit the net worth goal and then you're out. And somebody else can take over that business, right? You don't even have to resign, which is really fun. So again, clarity. Why are you doing this? Burnout goes up when we're unclear on the why. Okay. Next, there's two blueprints, one by default, where we're just running around accidental, and the other by design. The ultimate goal is that you've defined you're enough, not that you're chasing undefined growth. The business model goal is that you've designed it to support your lifestyle, not that your business dictates your lifestyle. And that's where a lot of people run. They run with the business telling them where to go instead of them telling what the business to do. Reaction to stress, we want to pause and close the stress loop instead of moving from fire to fire. And then time off, we need to schedule it as a protective rhythm instead of only doing it when we're totally exhausted. I'm not going to call anybody out, but I know people on this Zoom who haven't had a vacation in years. And it's unhealthy for your nervous system. It's unhealthy for your relationships. So be like Gary and wake up and go ahead and plan for that now. And then focus. We want to sustain energy management and so that it's sustainable instead of focusing on output and production volume. So what's the business relationship that we want? This is a formula that Jordan Freed provided me probably about 3 years ago. And I am not perfect in this formula. I'm telling you now, it is a work in progress. I'm not aiming for perfection, but I will tell you that the architecture of the four W's is a very healthy goal. So number one, take one work day off a week. Just protect one day a week. So is there a day that you can unplug? If you're doing open houses on Saturdays or Sundays, could you do an alternate day or a weekday? Because showings are too busy on the weekends right now. But what day could you take off where you just protect the day? Could you do one weekend a month? One weekend a month where you just uncheck. And then on Wednesdays, something for wellness where you're intentionally restoring your energy. An example might be a weekly Pilates class, and you're just going out and taking a Pilates class that day. In Wrightsville Beach, we have the loop. Could you leave the building and go walk the loop and take some friends with you? What could you do with intention that refills the tank? And then 1 week off per quarter.
Mm.
Here's what I want you to know, and I already know that many of you here know this, but when you schedule vacations in advance, real estate sales always pick up around every vacation you
Yeah.
take. If you want to absolutely ensure that you sell real estate, take 4 vacations a year.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. The phone will ring like crazy. Your focused energy and the time, and you work so different when you're about to take off. I'm going to Europe March 28th. My intentionality is at a 12 right now so that I could prepare to go and actually enjoy myself. And so this is what you do when you take a week off a quarter. You work very differently knowing that there's a quarterly finish line. And here's the other thing. Annual goals are hard to keep up with, but quarterly goals are not. And if you were to set your goals in 90-day increments, so we're about to wrap quarter 1. What do you want to happen? First of all, I want you to reflect on what did you do really well in quarter 1. And then with intentionality, I want you to design your second quarter. And if you were to write a letter for yourself, let's ask Siri. Siri, what is the date 90 days from now? Wednesday, June 10th. 26. So if today was Wednesday, June 10th, and Barb had her perfect quarter, how would Barb design it? How many listings would she need to take? How many families would she need to help? What would her best days look like? What are the lead gen levers? What's the lead gen by design going to look like? What's the time off she's going to take? Who is she going to spend her time with? I want you to build in some context and read that letter every day. And I'll bet you what happens about week 6 or 7, you're going to start seeing all the seeds you planted will fruit. And at the end of 90, I guarantee with intentionality, you'll hit it. And guess what you've earned? A vacation. And you get a week. Does everybody know that there's 13 weeks in a quarter? So you get a week off, you reset, and you come back and you do it again for the next 90 days. Based on your pipeline and the reality of where you are and any gaps that exist in your business, you're going to make adjustments every 90 days. Is that fair? And you're going to plan your time off. So all of you should have a plan on June 10th for a reset and review. What did you win at? And what do you want the next 90 days to look like? Any questions, any thoughts, any feedback, any drunk monkeys floating around in your head? They don't say drunk monkey anymore in bold, but if you know what that means, it means that there's somebody up in your head saying, I can't do that. I can't afford it. That's not possible. What's the drunk monkeys going on for you?
Well, I'll throw this out, Amanda. And who's the one that has the book I'm thinking of for
The 12-week year.
Yeah.
Yep.
I would say a thought that has come into mind, and I know we know this when we go on vacation and the momentum is high, and we either choose to do the work on vacation or not to stay in flow. But there's always been an inkling with me on, okay, if I take that week off, I let up. And I take vacations, family time, so I don't know this is a huge challenge for me, but it does, and I'm sure it resonates with others. Okay, stop in the flow, which again, I know you might coach me and say it's a restart opportunity for you. As
Yeah.
opposed to thinking of it one way, maybe it's this way.
What if you decided that it was a set up and not a setback?
Good.
Love it.
Yeah. Because I truly think when you get this intentional and we bring our vision from the clouds to the calendar, we operate very differently. And anybody who knows me knows that I use the 411 at a really high level. I have crossed out annually and I'm now putting 90 days. So here's my 90 days here's my goals for the next 90 days. And this month, here's what I'm going to achieve. And here's what I'm going to do this week. And Jeff, if I nail that, how am I setting myself back? I'm not, because I'm going to have business waiting on me because I'm doing the work in the 90 days and I've earned the week off. Right? Now, this is
Yeah.
going to require, somebody in your PC program is going to need to open doors, or you're going to need a colleague or a partner to cover you because you're going to build a business that's going to require support. And if you're a solo agent, it's you. So, do you have a plan for that? Do you have a go-to agent that you can trust that you help each other with? That means maybe don't take a vacation in the same week. So, you want to coordinate that, right? But most market centers have hungry agents who are willing to go open doors for you to be able to service the client. Because that's the other reason people don't take off, is they're like, who's going to help me? So make a plan. This is what fireproofing instead of firefighting. That's how we manage the stress, right? We put a plan in place for that. So Jeff, thanks for sharing. So this is the time that you guys get to go a little internal. I want you to do a little bit of a self audit. These questions are on the screen. What does your ideal life actually look like? I want you to consider your morning, your day, your evening, your vacations, your family time. What's the ideal life look like? And then let me go to 2. Does your current business support that? Why or why not? And then what adjustments do we need to make? And then number three is important. What's currently draining you in your business? What's taking energy out of you? If Manda were back to selling real estate, it would be writing contracts. I would have a TC in a minute because I would not want to do that part of the job. So what's currently draining you that maybe need to find a person, technology, a system, or a model to replace it. And then the 5-year test. If your business kept running the same way it is today for the next 5 years, what would your life look like? So we're going to take, about 7 minutes on this. It's 11:31. I want you to go to 11:38. Then we're going to open it up for some conversation. Devin, I love seeing you on here. Dakota, I'm glad you came too. Two more minutes. All right, we're gonna share what surprised you in your answers.
I couldn't come up with my ideal
Response.
life.
You couldn't come up with your ideal life.
I mean, my ideal days or
Yeah,
I just,
that that's
it's
something
hard
you got
to
to work on.
think. It's hard to think like that. It's hard to think if I don't know.
So clarity, opportunity for more clarity for you.
Yeah.
Yep. Christine, what were we gonna say?
I thought I really enjoyed marketing and technology. I kind of do in a way, but I realized, especially this week, I'm not very tech savvy and it's very frustrating at times. It's very time consuming and it's not my area of expertise. And it's just taken a lot of time away just creating one post from important things like, dealing with the clients, making the calls. And I feel like we need to hire someone and outsource marketing and technology.
So you found some opportunity maybe for some leverage.
Yes.
Yeah. What else surprised anybody? Thank you for sharing. What'd
I,
you, yeah, go, Devin. Thank you.
I forget what the exact prompt was for the question four, but I wrote down drained. I think it said like
If
4 years
things
or
stayed the
five
same.
years.
Yeah.
Um, and I didn't realize it until I had actually seen the question that if I keep doing what I'm doing, I am going to burn out. And I'm going to be drained.
Yeah.
Um,
And I want
so
everybody to hear me clear as a team leader. I'm not saying that you need to go backwards in sales to have a great life. You actually get both. And so it's applying the boundaries and it's building out the schedule and it's being really intentional with the hours that you do put into the work because you get both. And I think actually, Lisa Duncan, I can remember her having a conversation with our bold coach in Champaign, Illinois, and said, there's this internal competing commitment that I can't be a great mom and a great wife and a great real estate agent because what it requires of me. And the coach said, that's the dialogues you're telling yourself. Do you know other real estate agents who are great moms, great wives, and have really big businesses? And what do we know to be true? Yes, we do. And so, you know, who do you need to interview or who do you need to talk to or who might be a mentor or who might be a model that you could have a conversation with to say, ask some questions around it. How are they doing both? I don't know that anybody knows, but Domenico sells 100 houses a year. He's in a soccer league. He travels 4 to 6 times a year. He volunteers. I mean, he has a life. And I think people look at him and go, how the hell do you do that? It's just intentionality,
Mhm.
right? And so you get both. You get both. And I want everybody to know that. But we have to create the architecture of what a business looks like to have that. And right now, if the foundation is weak, and that really matters for all of us, what are we building on? We got to get that foundation built and then build on top of it with those things. So great answer, Devin. Speaking of boundaries, did you discover a boundary maybe that you need to create? Or looking at the answers to your question, what pops into your head? Where is there a missing boundary that if you were to build it in, could create some freedom for you? I mean, like Melissa Martin is one of our top agents here, and her voicemail says, after 6 p.m., if I didn't take your call, I will check. If I'm negotiating an offer with you, you will hear back from me. Otherwise, our business hours are from 8 to 6. And when she's in a listing appointment, she tells them that I will be available. If we have an offer or we're in negotiations, you will hear from me, but everything else happens in normal business hours. So she just sets expectations, right? So where could we be setting expectations and giving boundaries? There's a old time realtor friend of mine in Illinois that used to brag that she was the 24/7 realtor. And I would cringe by it because it's like, you don't never want to say that. No doctor is 24/7. No doctor. That's why they have an ER, right? And it's like, that's not us. And so we don't want to set ourselves up for that. And it's not too late to take it back. It sounds like this. You know what? I owe you an apology because I set an expectation that I'm available 24/7 and I can't be at my best to give you the best if I operate that way. So here's my business hours. And don't worry, if we're in the middle of a negotiation, my phone will never be off,
Mhm.
right? You can unravel that if you've set yourself up for that. What's another example of a boundary? Let me ask you guys this. If you're in a listing appointment with a client and the phone rings, will you stop and take the call? Why do we do it all day? Why do we let people interrupt us?
That's a good question.
But we protect the client in that appointment.
Hmm.
Bill Utenage years ago said to me about lead generation. Lead generation is a future listing appointment. If you keep allowing interruptions during your lead generation, you will have no future appointments. So put it on do not disturb. Build the bunker. Get the alerts off. I know people who have taken Facebook off their phone because of the danger of the scroll. They still have it. They've just removed the app from their phone. You could set reminders on your phone as needed, but how are you using technology to be your friend and to build boundaries? Is anybody doing anything like that? Does anybody have an example that they could give the team?
I have time limits on my social apps, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. They automatically shut off if I've been on them for an hour.
Nice.
And
That's
it's not an hour consecutive, it's an hour all day. So they shut off automatically. I can turn it back on. But I have to allow myself to do that.
good for you, Jen. So that's constructing her boundaries. So she's protecting her morning routines. Do you guys know what an email is? It's somebody else's to-do list. That's what an email is. And so I'm guilty of it. I fire off emails to my staff so that they can respond when it's good for them. But it's my to-do list moved on to their to-do list. And one of the biggest traps that we all jump into is we check emails first and then we never head into lead generation at the right time. And it's a trap. So if you were to build your calendar differently, how are you protecting your morning routine? How are you eliminating unnecessary nights and weekends? We know in this job there's necessary nights and weekends, but where could we eliminate that? How could it look different? If you've got a buyer that you've shown 2 or 3 times and they're crystal clear, their move's not for 6 months, what if you created an open house pass for them that says, I'm working with Barb Schwartz, and here's the pass. And for every listing open house they walk into, and you're protected, you have a buyer agency agreement, and you send them on listings at open houses instead of being in the car with somebody who's 6 months out,
Hmm.
right? That's different than a town tour. I'm talking about these people are coming into town and they want to take your time, and they're not buying in the next 6 months. Stop doing that. Setting a no call time. It doesn't have to be 6 o'clock. It's your time, but setting up a schedule and communicating that. Hiring for leverage or administrative task. Thanks to ChatGPT, I mean, automation is so big. We've got one of our top agents, Caleb Courtney, that did 10 deals by himself in the month of April. He hits record on ChatGPT for every conversation he has. He has a project built with the client's name. Every conversation he has goes into that project. Then it creates the email that he sends back, capturing everything that they've talked about. And he's working like this because of a relationship with ChatGPT. How are you using tech? What do you need to go learn and do differently with tech? Do you know that technology could be your director of lead generation, your director of social media, your director of client care? You just give it a job description and tell it what you want, right? All right. So, what boundary do you need to create that could dramatically improve your life? And then what's the architecture of your life? So, you have to have a sustainable business with intentionality built piece by piece. At the foundation, you're clear on your enough. I'm going to show you an agent prototype of the business in a minute. Then, having your daily boundaries, building in those 10-minute resets, closing your stress loops, and then getting onto that 4W rhythm, taking one day a week off, taking one weekend off a month, and then taking a week off a quarter. You guys, how would the quality of your life improve if you made a decision to do that? I'd be willing to bet it all on black that none of your businesses would go backwards if you would work with that intentionality and schedule that time off. Right? So, what were ahas today or questions for today? I'm going to stop share and I'm going to pull up an agent prototype I want to show y'all.
I like that, taking 1 week off a month. I think
Yeah,
that
a year.
if you
Oh, yeah,
work
the
with
month. Yes.
intention,
Yes.
I mean, I love that.
Yep. You can do it. 1 weekend a month, 1 week a quarter.
Yeah, one week a quarter is what I was like,
Yes.
because I can take weekends off.
Yep.
You know, of course, like you said, if I'm negotiating, I don't take it completely off, but
Yep.
yeah.
I mean, I'm going to be in a whole nother time zone. It's going to be fascinating for people to get a hold of me. And yet I know it can be done, right? Because I'll have prepared and I will have fireproof for everything I possibly can. After that, unless the place is on fire, don't bother.
Yeah, yeah.
There's just nothing I can do.
I
What
used
else?
to always think you had to tell your clients when you're out of town. And
Yep.
maybe in Europe that's different.
Yep.
But you don't have to.
No, you don't. What else? Other ahas, questions. What'd you learn? How could you be different moving forward? Hmm. Sorry, the pollen here is a mess.
Is it green on everything?
Yes.
Ours is just starting.
This is a class that I wrote called Agent Activation, but in it, it has this business prototype, and this is what it looks like. So every agent wants to get clear on what their lifestyle number is. And the lifestyle number means that I have all of my bills are paid and I am maintaining the quality of life that I desire. So if that's the boat, if that's the beach, if that's the clubs, if that's the travel, whatever it is. And like I said, most mega agents are about 250,000 a year. So then they get clear on what's the net worth number need to be. So for Jake, it was 250 or it was 6.2 million at 4% means he'd earn 250,000 a year. So then he knew, what does my business need to profit? For him, it was $500,000 that he needed to bring in. And then he got clear on his units, which was 65 units. He needed to take 4 listings a month and he needed a database size of about 3,280 for that to happen. And this is the relationship that he desired with his business. He lived off of the first X of 250. He invested the second, and then his goal was to be set free and have 250,000 a year coming in once he hit it. This is what I mean about the business going to work for you and you having the relationship with the business instead of the business telling you what to do. And when you get clear on you're enough, you get set free. Okay. So I have a calculator on this that I'll send everybody so that you guys can work through it. And actually, let me just go grab it. I cheated and had my MCA build me an Excel spreadsheet, and it makes all of our lives a lot easier. Any questions on it? If you ever see Jordan Freed teaching Agent Business Blueprint, I can't recommend more that you get in it. It is a game-changing class, and we host it, Agent Blueprint Excel, and we host it here in the fourth quarter in Wilmington. So we'll pass it all on to everybody who can come out and join us. You guys can leave Champaign, and come to the beach sometime. Yeah, it's pretty fun here, isn't it, Barbie? Did she leave?
We might stay and never leave. Be
I know,
careful.
I know. And then Scott Bechtel might come after me. KLRW. I'm trying to go grab this for you guys because I want you to, oh, you know what? Did I put it in my files? I might have saved it. All right. Any other ahas? Anything I can help with? Was this okay?
Yeah, this was good.
Good. So I just want y'all to get some clarity. Work on what that looks like for you. Define your enough number, and then get clear. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a screenshot of everybody that's here, and then I'm going to get you the Excel. So because I'm like, where did I put it? And then everybody will have a copy of it. But it is 11:51. I told you this would be short and I hope sweet and I hope a good use of your time because I never want to waste anybody's time. So thanks for being on. We do a mastery series once a month. Next month is all things wealth with Lad. So we'll get that pushed out. And I think it's April 12th, I want to say. And so we'll be on the lookout for it. But he's got some really great stuff coming about wealth. So thanks for being here. Have an
Thank you,
awesome day,
Amanda.
you guys. And happy St. Patrick's Day. Don't get
Thanks,
too
Amanda.
don't get too green.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.